Hello, and welcome to the first in, I think, it's going to be 3 or 4 parts, most likely 4-part video series on making a whole board. So what this will do, this is going to utilise all what we've learned throughout the past few months. You know, I'm going to put these techniques into good use. It's going to be quite a difficult project, because it is an entire board. I mean, the techniques you've practiced on previous projects, or we've looked at them. But it's the fact it's going to be a whole board, and what it's going to be for, it's going to be for battle companies and Mordheim. It's going to be a ruined town board. So it's going to be densely populated with buildings and raised platforms and so forth. And that's what this first video is about. It's going to be about the planning stage, the process of planning a thing like this. Beforehand, I've just sort of made projects. You've even heard me say I'm winging it when I've been making it. Whereas this is big, it requires planning. So that's what this video is on. So let's plan some stuff. Okay, so I wanted a board that could be used for battle companies, and maybe if you wanted to use it for Mordheim. So the first thing I normally do is just look up pictures for inspiration. So we've got the internet at our fingertips, so the first thing I did was just look up some Mordheim boards and just download a load of pictures for those and get inspired. And some of the ones I got inspired by the most were ones that are sort of the buildings on raised platforms. I don't know, I just like multi-level terrain in games, especially for battle companies. So that was it. So that's the first thing I sort of looked at. Okay, I knew I was going to have these raised platforms covering the board. Knew the board was going to be 4x4, so I created a folder on my PC and just for many days just saved images into this folder. And I do that for most terrain projects. Normally if I have a terrain project, it's quite easy. I'm normally building something from the movie, so it's a case of looking at movie pictures, the movie itself, looking through books and just gathering pictures and ideas. But for this, I kind of wanted to pick a location that wasn't in the movie to give me a bit of artistic license, so that was interesting. And so with this, I decided to narrow it down to 2 locations in Middle Earth that are abandoned towns, because that's effectively what Mordheim is, and I wanted bring that aspect of a ruined town into battle companies. So I picked Fornost and Farbad, which are both abandoned towns. Now I wanted to come up with a narrative reason why the town would be built upon platforms, and so Farbad was quite easy. It was Farbad's built on a river, and it's now flooded, and it's kind of almost underwater now, kind of thing. But I thought the narrative reason for the platforms of that was the builders of this town city would know that the river's prone to flooding, so the platforms are their flood defences. So that was that reason. And Fornost, which in the end I actually went for Fornost. So, but that was a bit difficult to come up with this narrative reason for these platforms. But Fornost is a really old town city. It's the main city of Arnor. So the platforms are the old Numenorian foundations of the city, and then since then it's been developed, changed, knocked down, rebuilt. But these platforms the people of Fornost have always used, and the buildings are built on top of those now. So that was my I had a bit of history, a bit of background for it. So after that, I decided to look at some pictures of Fornost. Now, yeah, it's not mentioned, not seen in the films, but there have been video game adaptations that have used Fornost. Some of these are the Lord of the Rings online game has used it, but I quickly ruled this out as any form of inspiration because it's just a bit too cartoony. Didn't really fit with the look I was going for. There's a lovely picture that's used in Battles for Middle Earth, which hopefully is on screen now if I've remembered. That is great, just that, but it's not very. It's quite the picture's sort of the city in the distance. So and in game it doesn't look as impressive as that. So what they show in game, but the other one is War in the North, which you actually visited as a character, you go and visit Fornost. So that had lovely pictures. So I just gathered loads of those, which we can sort of hopefully be looking at now. So what you see here actually on the screen now is one of the things I am taking inspiration for the platforms, which is a wall with sort of an arch in front of them, and that's how the platforms are going to be. Saved all these pictures to a folder as well, and looked at them, and as I'm going to do the build, we can refer back to them. But I didn't want the buildings to look like that, because really it's a bit, I'd just done a load of Gondorian stuff for Minas Tirith and Osgiliath, and this looked a bit samey, and I wanted something different. So I was thinking what I could do is, I love Tudor style buildings, the half timbered buildings. You know, it's one of the reasons why I want to do this board, because it's a bit of a Mordheim, which those buildings sort of fit into that. But we've seen those in the movie, in Bree, which is in Arnor, or was in Arnor when Arnor was a thing. So I was thinking, well, if that's what the modern Arnorian building is like, perhaps Fornost, it started off as Numenoria and then so looked like stuff like Minas Tirith, but as the bloodlines of Numenor got weakened, the crafts and skills did too. So when they rebuilt the buildings over time that needed to be rebuilt, they built them more in a half-timbered style like Bree. So that was my thinking. So now I've got this lovely narrative structure and a reason for the way this board is going to look the way it looks. So I knew I was going to have these platforms covered in board, and I knew the builders were going to be half-timbered. But when I built my Bree, I made the bottom half, the wall half, a bit rustic, whereas I thought, okay, they've still got some skills. It's going to be the same sort of big blocks, big Minas Tirith, Arnorian, Numenorian blocks. So okay, we had that. All that was left to do next was to actually plan the board out. Now we've got the inspiration down, we know what we're doing, so we've got to plan the board out. So I used some graph paper for this and marked out an area, decided upon the scale, marked out a square that will represent the 4x4 board, and then that was subdivided into 4 2x2 sections. So I just found that easier to work with, and I planned out the platforms I was going to have. So I was going to have one really large one, two sort of smaller rectangular ones, two sort of L-shaped ones, and one little small squarish one. I thought that would be quite cool. So I sort of planned out the size of those and worked out how big they're going to be, which you can see here. And then the next stage of the planning was to place the building. So I'd taken a picture of the plan, put it into a computer, and just overlaid some squares that represent buildings. I knew I want to do I want some generic sort of houses, some ruins, and these are going to be like more times. They're going to be like the building going to be smashed to pieces, and I want a lot of rubble. So yeah, I'm going to have some generic ones. I know I wanted to have a blacksmith. I just felt a blacksmith was cool, and I wanted to have an inn as well, which is going to be, you can see here, and I wanted some other bits like wells and a fountain just to detail the board. I knew I would need some stairs to get up to these platform areas, and I wanted, where possible, say the two walkways in the top right hand corner, two platforms on the right hand corner, I wanted a walkway to join them up so you could go across, and that walkway would be makeshift, so it would be like the Rangers have built it just to make traversing the area easier. So it's just going to be a wooden structure, I'm thinking. Yes, and so what I've also done is I've then took that and I also designed how I wanted the platform to look. So I knew I wanted to make it 2.5 inches high. I knew that I was going to use Hurst art blocks. I planned to use Hurst art blocks for the wall, and for the arches that I knew I was going to have, I was going to just make those out of foam, 6mm foam I'd planned on. So I sort of blew that out and designed that out as well. And what Hurst arts do is, as well as they do a mould where it's a little wall section, so which we'll see in the platform making video for that. But I knew I was going to use that and clad it. So at this stage, I was just thinking how I'm gonna make it to make my life easier. And then what I did is I took time to actually work out the sizes I'd need. So I knew the arches were going to be, I designed them to be 2 inches wide, and so I'd know I'd need different lengths of foam arches. You know, I can see as I need 16 inches and 8 inches. But I just planned out, put pen to paper, before I even cut anything out, of the spacing, the dimensions I'd need. So just to make it easier in the long run, which we hopefully can see here on the screen. And then I designed how I wanted the houses to look. I knew I wanted them to be half timbered. So bottom half would be stone, top floor or 2 floors would be sort of wooden, that sort of Tudor look. I knew I'd want multi-levels with the floor smashed in, the roof all broken down. So I just sort of put pen to paper and drew some designs out here, which you hopefully see in here. And I highly recommend doing this for if you're going to do a big board like this, because I'm actually recording this after the fact that I've built it. You might be able to see a little sneak preview of the platform here, but spending a bit of time, a few days designing and planning, really helped in the long run, because I was able just to get on and cut things. I wasn't having to work anything out. So yes, so I highly recommend taking time on a big project, just to step back, plan it and design it. Highly recommended. Next up, we'll actually start building it, so stay tuned for that. Thanks for watching, we hope you enjoyed it. If you did, hit the like button and leave a comment. If you haven't already, please subscribe. Stick with the channel for many great videos to come.